welcome everybody back to another episode of Pro Networking here on Echo Means Business. Today we are talking about business etiquette for green industry pros. This is something that we do every second week. As a reminder, every second Thursday we get together for our networking series with industry professionals as well as members of our UAG and other green industry or asphalt industry pros to help educate, inspire, which is our mandate here at Echo Means Business. Today, I am really happy to have with me Scott Horoszewski, Landscapes by Acme, who I had to wrestle moderator duties from this week. Mark Thomos, aka Mark Thomas Builder. I always want to say, can he build it? Yes, he can. Every time I see Mark's name. So I'm really happy to have him. And of course, finally, we really needed to have an outsider's opinion this time on this topic. And so we've invited Melanie Pikosky, the communications manager at Echo Inc. Welcome, folks.
Thank you.
How you guys doing?
Very good. Very good. I'm happy to have you guys on. Today, we're talking about business etiquette. Now, this one might seem a little bit different or unusual from some of the normal conversations we have in this educational series, these regular panel discussions that we have. But business etiquette, for those of you listening in, is not about lifting your pinky finger while you're drinking your energy drink. This is really about understanding how to effectively communicate with other businesses, with clients, with the media, or even a staff that you might be looking to engage or are engaging in a more professional manner so that it impacts your business growth. We've been hearing a lot of feedback from members, such as, we're growing our business, but can't keep the business that we're having, or we're having problems with difficult clients. Others are telling us that they're trying to engage commercial clients, but they're struggling with how to engage them, and they're getting negative feedback on some of their proposals. And so we thought it would be really good to focus in on this one area about business etiquette, and that's how you present yourself, how you present your business, how you communicate with them. So let's get right into it. This was a topic that came to us from the members. So Scott, I'm going to start with you. What's some of the feedback you're hearing? What are some of the problems that we're hearing people are experiencing when it comes to business etiquette issues?
I think a lot of the things is how to address, talking to different commercial clients, how to get that commercial client, which way to go. Like, how do you talk to them? Do you call them on the phone? Do you send them email? Do you text them? 90% of the time, I'm calling them. I'm trying to meet them in person. I'm emailing them, contracts and stuff. I think there's only a couple times that I've texted them, and that's, I have a lot of commercial accounts that we do snow removal for. So we kind of text them, in the morning and say, hey, your property's open. Wanted to let you know that. Or if we see something very important that we want to let them know like instantly and we can't get a hold of them. So a lot of times that's one of the main thing I'm hearing from a lot of people is, how do you go about that? The best thing is to have the best contract that you can. There's plenty of places to look up contracts, but I would say take it to your lawyer, kind of go through that, and let them look through it, make sure that it's the right way to do it. And then after that point, go ahead and, go approach that commercial client you want. Go face to face, try to go door to door, get in there, try to talk to who you can. If they won't let you talk to them, get their email, get their number, try to talk to them personally first before you go anything past that. I know Mark could probably contest to this too. Mark, what are you hearing on your channels about the different versions of business etiquette?
Well, as you're talking about trying to get face-to-face, I spent a lot of time watching or listening to podcasts, watching videos, and I know we're talking about commercial work, but
right,
we're also going to be talking about working with brands too. I recall hearing someone that has a really successful blog and the YouTube channel. He's more in the maker community, and he said, if you can go and meet face to face. Like he went to a home show. He said it was in Florida. It was not convenient because he lives here in Michigan. And he said if he didn't meet face to face, he would not have had nearly the success, because when you go and meet face to face, usually like the marketing people are at those events. So when I haven't really done that much commercial landscape work, I've done some commercial work in my building business in the past. So you dropping names once in a while, if you know somebody that that does work for them, use a reference. I think there's just a little bit of weight to throwing some names around to get a little reference. So I know you a little bit. They know you from Adam, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. They have at least someone that they can talk to about you to see.
Yeah, those are all good points. We're going to cover all of those in a little bit more detail. So thanks for highlighting some of those. Melanie, one of the reasons why we thought it was really important to have you here is your job is a communications manager. That's what you do for a living, be it engaging with other pros, promoting your brand to the media, as well as working with influencers across this industry. So, what are some of just to kind of paint a bigger picture of what we're going to be talking about today, what are some of the big things that you see often, mistakes that people make, just high level, that we might want to talk about more today?
I think, high level, I think the first thing is that when you approach a company, to really actually have a plan in mind and, go in there and say exactly like, this is what I want to do with you. And these are the types of results that I think that we can do if we work together. I think it's really important to kind of have all that sort of stuff laid out and present to us how we can mutually benefit from the relationship.
Yeah, that's true. So you know what? Why don't we dive into that? Because I think that's something that people are going to be really fascinated with. I'd like to talk a little bit about if for those of you out there that are pros that are looking to engage local or national companies to build, for collaborations, sponsorships, whatever. Let's focus on that. But then I want to move over later on in this conversation to actually engaging with your clients and the best ways to engage with your clients, and then how we can maybe suggest that people get help. Because I'm finding that my experience, because we manage obviously influencer marketing campaigns, we're responsible here for the Echo Means Business program after all. But what we're realizing is there's a lot of people who get involved in this industry and try and reach out to us, like if they want to be UAG members or something. And they always come up to us and they're saying a couple of things. The first thing they say is, well, I love Echo. I owe everything about Echo. They're forgetting, they don't bother reading the background. They don't read that you don't need to be an Echo lover to be a UAG member, as an example, if they want to work within this program. In fact, we go out of our way to find UAG members that don't use Echo and that prefer other brands, because the mandate here is that we want to hear from everybody and we want everybody's feedback in what we're doing. So they're not doing the research. Melanie, do you find that when influencers come to you that they're coming with blinders on, that they haven't necessarily looked at who else you've worked with, for example, and know their history of Echo?
Actually, I haven't experienced that yet. What I truly love is that this is one of the first companies that I've worked for where when we do get approached, it's by real fans. It's like people who actually really, really are huge fans and love our products. Like, for example, before Echo, I was working for a manufacturer of food oils, and I've never met anyone who had such a passion for olive oil as I do when I talk to everyone in our industry and the quote unquote influencers and all the people who are creating content online, and they truly have such passion for our products. So it's so refreshing and so nice to talk to someone who actually wants to do work because they believe in the brand, not just because they want to make a couple bucks or want free product in exchange for content.
Yeah, no, I totally get that, and that's something that you just see that the GIE show this past weekend is just another example of how the fandom in this community has really just exploded beyond most others. But when it does come to that, though, when brands do reach out, again, I just, now that we're talking about this, you're obviously the one that I'm going to be I want to be asking a lot of the questions of, because you receive those proposals. What is an effective way for an influencer to reach out to a brand? It doesn't have to be just yours. Let's just talk in general, in order to make themselves seem more professional and get your attention.
I'll say a lot of the requests that come in are they start off through social media, that we'll get a direct message from Instagram or on Facebook, and then we'll go ahead and we'll provide them with my email address, and then maybe 50% of the time, then I actually do end up getting an email, and then we will get on the phone. I mean, especially if it sounds like it's an interesting proposition. So yeah, and then I think then the next step is that we get on the phone, and a lot of times at that point, it seems that there's not necessarily like a very clear path on on where this is going. I think people are huge fans and they want to work with us, but there's not this kind of clear path of, this is exactly what I want to do with you. So sometimes it's me kind of trying to pull out information like, well, are you looking for a product in exchange for content? Like, what exactly are you looking for? So I think sometimes it's that people are really excited to get on the phone with us and talk to us, but they still don't entirely know what they want to do. And so I think that can slow things down.
All right. So what I'm hearing then is that if somebody does come to you, or any brand that they may want to go to, looking for sponsorship or looking for collaboration ideas, that they have a concept in mind, that they have an idea in mind to say, like, this is what I'm looking for. I'd like to do this with, and I'm don't let me put words in your mouth, but the influencers that we, or the media personalities that we advise, what we would say is, have the idea. This is the campaign I want to run. This is the steps that I want to do. This is the product that I want. This is what I want from you. And this is what I'm going to give you. This is the time frame, that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
All right. Have you noted, and so obviously that, would raise, or at least get your interest, because there's something tangible there. You must get an incredible number of these requests coming in through all kinds of channels. What's the most effective way to connect with a brand? Is it social media? Is it email? Is it text messaging? What do you find comes across in your world as either the most professional or most reasonable?
I would say no to the text messaging. We're all on computers all day long. So to have another device that we need to pay attention to is not, for me personally, it's just not the way that I want to communicate with someone. I'd absolutely rather just get on the phone and brainstorm and talk about how we can work together.
Yeah, that seems to make a lot of sense. And is there, how about cadence? Is there, what I mean? Like, what would you consider is the appropriate follow-up time? Somebody sends you an email or somebody sends you a letter. I always like to advise people, be different, like send a letter, because that really stands out, because nobody bothers doing that anymore. Send a package with like a media kit, which I want to talk about. But what's a good timing, like in terms of when should I follow up if I don't hear something back?
I would say within a week would be good to follow up.
All right. So one final question, then, and I want to turn it around to the guys, because both Scott and Mark do this all the time and with great success in terms of developing partnerships. I want to talk a little bit about media kits. I think a lot of these industry pros that are really good at what they do when it comes to knowing the products, working the products, growing their business in terms of properties that they manage and a new business they acquire. They don't necessarily understand the media landscape and what it takes, or what becomes interesting to a brand. And that's usually eyeballs, number of eyeballs, number of comments, number of engagement, that it's not just about followers. All right. A lot of people I know will say, well, I got so many followers, but how deep is that relationship? Do you actually move the needle when you say something, or is it just about eyeballs? So can you maybe talk a little bit about what they may want to consider without, having an advertising agency doing this for them, should they be presenting in terms of a little media kit? What's valuable to you?
I think, for example, if somebody has a podcast, then absolutely we'd want to know the amount of downloads that particular podcast gets. What are the demographics? Where are the downloads happening the most? And so that would be, for sure that we would do for podcasts. If it was someone who, let's say, was interested in getting product for content, for example, then we would look at their pages and we would get, we would try to understand what type of content are they producing, and we would look at the comments and determine whether or not we think that this would be a good fit for us.
Oh, that's interesting. So how about, you said that you look at their channel, you look at their content.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
It's not just about the audience that they have, it's about tone, right? Because
it's not. Yeah, right. Because
you can have millions of tone.
You can have a ton of followers, but we don't, or viewers, but that doesn't necessarily mean that those followers or viewers are the people that that would actually use our products.
Mm-hmm.
And I was also, I was
go
also wondering if, let's say someone is just growing, but they're really niched down in a particular thing. Let's say they're into like concrete cutting or something. They have a business. They don't have a big following, but they know everything about it. They have like a small audience of that. Does that get that weight? Is that valuable compared to someone that's more wide, that just does general across the board type of landscape? That deep and narrow versus the wide, is there?
I think that they're both valuable. I think they're both valuable. I think, something like very broad, of course, but then I also see value in, for example, like we have in our UAG program, someone who's, let's say more focused on hardscaping, for example. That's really cool, right? Because we want stuff like that. We want to, also showcase maybe some of the things that are, that are more niche than not.
Yeah. Before Mark asked that question, I wanted to delve a little bit into how do people research and understand that the content that they produce is the right tone? So I know that brands have a brand voice. They have a typical personality type that they go after in terms of who their client, client personas and things like that. How important is it for somebody who's pitching you guys to understand that and to imbue that into their proposal, to say that this is what I do, this is the tone that I use?
I would love that. We haven't had anything like that, but I think a proposal like that really tells a story of, this is me, this is my channel, these are the types of people these are our followers, this is the type of engagement that we have, things like that. I would absolutely love that. That's very, very thorough, and that would be extremely impressive.
Right. Yeah, no. Don, no, I think he went green with his hair because it was an accident. There's a question in the channel, you know what I mean, about why Scott's hair went green, because he's trying to be different, taking my advice. No, that was a peroxide issue. That was a mistake.
It wasn't peroxide issue. I did put a lot of chemicals in the pool that day beforehand, but it was not the chemicals. I don't know. It might be all the energy drinks I drink too. I'm not gonna give the full, reason why, but it wasn't the peroxide.
Right. Well, Mark, you've got, you've had a lot of success in partnering with a lot of companies. Home Depot is one that everybody knows you do a lot of work with very successfully. What are some of the tips that you can provide from, in terms of your presentation and how you got to that point? Did you start working on your channel specifically to build the right type of content for that? And what was the type of communication that you wrote or prepared and presented to them to win those that partnership?
Well, the first thing I would say is that if you can, as I mentioned before, meet face to face. That's the thing I think that helped me. If I didn't meet face to face with them and just sent them an email, I don't think I would be partnered with them right now. So I happened to go to a event in Atlanta, Workbench Con, like 4 or 5 years ago, and I'd also say to have like an elevator pitch ready to go. That's kind of, you can within like 15, 20 seconds, explain what you do and just be very precise and succinct with it. And at the time I started doing a Tool Review Tuesday episode on my channel. So I started reviewing some tools that I already owned as a builder. And I just gave my business card, which has my face on it. I think that's something that if you're anyone out there getting business cards, just have your face so they can remember who they talked to, like at GIE or another show or event like that. So just did that and asked if I could be considered to be in their program. And 30 days later, I got an email, and it was just amazing.
Well, that's actually in terms of business etiquette, right? Because what we're talking, this whole conversation in its entirety is not about winning a sponsorship. It's about how do you present yourself, whether it's to a sponsor, a local business partner, or potentially a client. That face-to-face, I want to shift gears a little bit. And how important is that? Because I know that in the past, we've had guests on this program that I've talked about. I never want to talk to a client, so I don't even give them my phone number. I give them an email. Every bill has to be paid by credit card because I don't want to call to collect. I just don't want to hear from them. Mark, you're saying that it's from a business perspective, it's more important to show yourself face to face and to have that handshake. Mm-hmm. Would you say that it's the same thing that applies to all areas of your business?
Yeah. There's a saying that I heard a long time ago. It said, don't be afraid to put yourself out there, because that's where the joy and the adventure lie. And there have been times where I maybe had a proposal or a chance to do something, and sometimes like the one voice on my shoulder is saying, no, don't do it. And the other voice is saying, yeah, you should. And I always try to push through that and just get out of your comfort zone. Is one of my, this is completely off the subject, but I ran a sprint triathlon years ago, and I really didn't, I had some friends that kind of pushed me into it, and I was kind of reluctant, and I did a lot of training. And after running that race, that's like one of the greatest achievements that I can think of personally, that I pushed myself to do that and lost the weight, got fit, and learned to swim a longer distance. So I just say to push yourself through that.
Yeah. We got some really good comments coming in. I want to get to some of the questions that are in there. But Scott, on that topic, there's a saying in our industry anyway, in the media, when I work with the companies that I work with, that people don't buy from businesses, they buy from people, right? Yes. And there's a person-to-person relationship that typically would sell. So, Mark put himself out there. He made sure that to get Home Depot, that he showed himself face-to-face, got there and met them. Do you find that you're a personable guy? How do you use that in your business relationships? How important is it for you?
I say face-to-face is definitely, that's one of my major things. We have done stuff for, I'll tell you truthfully, we've done stuff for other companies, and the customers never met the owner of the other company. And with me being out there with my guys, the customer gets to see who you are, gets to know how you are, how you react, how you deal with your clients. And if you're not face-to-face and you're just sending somebody out there or taking a phone call over the phone and saying, yeah, we'll do it, this is what we're going to charge, you can go by what your work looks like, but a lot of customers still want that, to know who it is that's out there. I am Polish. A lot of customers come out and say, mess up my name, and then I tell them I'm Polish, or they can tell that I'm Polish, and they realize that, and they care that I'm out there with my clients, talking to them face to face, knowing exactly what their needs are, what they want, and how to perceive their yard. And I might tell them, like, this is, I like your ideas, but this is what I suggest, and that's going to help out in the long run. And by just coming out there and talking to them, it goes a long way. Just like Bedell says, it is easy to fire somebody that you never met. And I've seen it. I've seen it firsthand. And, to be on a property and, you're out there doing the work for another contractor, and the lady comes out and says, well, I want you from now on. So if you can continue to come out here, that's perfect. And, you keep your clients that way. You know, every one of my clients I know personally. Some of them I've known for years, and that's one of the best things, is because they know who I am. They know who my family is. They know how many kids I got, where they go to school. I'm more personable this way, you know, and they'll tell me, you know, oh, you know, my son's your age, or my grandson's your age, and you know, we get to talk more that way, and you get to know more about them. It's more, I would say, you know, a better experience in the long run. And, you know, this is a good thing also with companies. You know, every company that I deal with, I try to get to know at least one of the good, you know, major impact persons of the company. And, you know, it might be the manager, it might be the owner. And once you know that, it goes a long way, because then you know how the company's ran, you know how the person is that's managing it, and you can talk back and forth. It's, you know, it's not like, hey, you missed a spot. It's more like, hey, how you doing? How's your day? How's your kids going? You know, hey, you know, can you do this little bit extra for me today? Can you do this a little extra for me? It's more hands-on, one-on-one than just, hey, you missed this, you missed that. Can you do this? I gotta go. No,
Yeah.
you're talking more like a friend issue, a buddy situation. It's gonna last. Your relationship's gonna last longer in the long run. So I mean, that's how I've always done it. You know, and it hurts me, because sometimes, you know, my wife says I tell too much, but you know, I can go and tell her, this client just had a baby, you know, let's go over there and send them something, or send the wife some flowers. You know, Christmas, we send Christmas cards out thanking them all. It has everybody that has worked with us on that time. It's on there. Our wives are on there. My kids are on there. It's a better thing in the long run. And I feel that's the, you know, one of the best things,
Yeah.
you know, so.
Well, let's turn that around a little bit. You know, we've been talking about, you know, how to pros, you know, effective ways for pros to reach out to larger brands, and, you know, what the business etiquette is there. But how about the other way? The other way, if a brand chooses to reach out to you, which I know most brands today are accepting proposals, right? And we know that that's the most effective way. You know, you have your media kit. That's how most of the big guys are doing this right now. But what happens if, in fact, a brand does come out to you, and it's just not for you? You know, you don't like that brand, or you don't like that particular product. JC here is asking a really good question. Do you still do it? What, Mark, I'm going to put this one to you first.
You know, I have to laugh because we were saying having our media kit ready. I was a little over a year ago, I was talking with someone, and I can't remember if we were talking on the phone. I think we were talking on the phone, and she said, "Oh, can you send me your media kit?" I'm like, okay. I'm like Googling on Fiverr, like how much
Dude,
for a media kit? So
why didn't you call me?
Yeah. Oh, I know. I do a fair amount on Fiverr. That's kind of like my go-to, like without thinking. I'm just like, actually I was on there today doing something. So, no, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
It's all right. No.
Yeah. So what I was going to say,
if a brand came to you and you weren't 100% confident in the product, you still do it? Does it hurt your chances if you say no in terms of getting you know, something else from them?
Yeah, I try to see if it's a good fit. When I first started out, I really wasn't focused where I'm at. I just wanted to make this channel for fun. And I found a website that actually YouTube owns now. And they would partner like brands with content creators, and then you could do some small things. So I really had a lot of practice, and I would get a lot of constructive criticism through that. So I felt like I really needed to start small and work with brands and kind of learn the ropes, and then gradually got bigger from there. So now I don't know, I pick and choose, because my time is, before I had more time, now I have less time available. So it would really have to be a good fit. And I'm finding myself not reaching out as much. I feel like there's a little bit more coming in as you start growing.
Yeah.
But I still do reach out to companies here and there for something that's a good fit for me. So I guess if it's something you're not really sure about, maybe I think communication is, like, throughout this whole topic, communicating with your clients or communicating with the marketing person that you're talking with, or the brand or the company, just what your expectations are. And if maybe ask them to send it to you first. And if you like it, then you'll work with them.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to do it.
And if you don't,
Authenticity comes in,
yeah,
right? That's the
yeah.
thing. And I think
If
that
it doesn't, I was just going to say this last thing. If it doesn't work well, then get back to them, see if their customer service will come through. I've had a snowblower that broke down right away. And they said, oh no, we are really proud of our customer service. That department just is really streamlined, and get a hold of them. And they sent me another one, and they said, yeah, put that in your content. So I was very impressed with that.
Mhm.
So I think along all those different things I mentioned, those are what I consider when working with it.
See, one of the things that I'm impressed of with you and the content that I see you develop, and your answer there just proved it, is this concept of authenticity, something that I'm big on, and I think that people see. So Scott, from again, because we're talking about this idea of business practices and how do you present yourself to get the most impact from these types of partnerships, or even just getting the partnerships. How important is showing that authenticity to the end audience? We always talk about it from the brand's perspective. They're looking for people who are authentic, and they're not going to. But you as a pro, if you're looking at other pros who are hucking product, right? They're doing reviews or something. How important is it for you to know that that is authentic? They're not being paid necessarily to talk about that product, that they're doing it because it's something they actually enjoy using, or that they just want to do because it's important to them to share their thoughts.
I think it goes back on a lot of these so-called influencers, are looking for people to follow them because they just want every brand out there, and they want them to, sponsor them back. You got to go back to, what do you enjoy doing? What product do you enjoy using? If you, just because you got, a Toro or a Still or something like that, because they want you to promote it. It's more about, do you enjoy using it? Is that something that you would stand behind? And that's in the long run that you should always look at when you're considered to be, a brand influencer or whatever is, and that's the way I kind of look at it too. From everything that I use, I wouldn't recommend it if I don't like it, and I'm not going to tell somebody like, hey, go use this brand because I don't, I like it, and just, try to, give the smiley face and say, this will get you what you want. This will cut that grass in no time. If I don't think it's going to do it, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to tell somebody when I do a review, like, hey, this didn't do what I thought it would do. And, I do have a review on there for a mower. And I told people that that's one of the things is if you don't like it, tell somebody. Don't hide it. Don't be that person to say, yeah, I think this is the one that you should get. No, stand behind what you promote. Stand behind what you feel is the best for you. Not everybody is going to like that product. There's tons and tons of people out there. Look at GIE. There's 20,000 people. Not everybody looks at the same piece of equipment the same way you do. But, stand behind what you have. If somebody approaches you to promote their product, if you don't like their product, be free to turn them down. Tell them, this isn't for me. This isn't what I stand for. I won't, use this product. If it's something that you want to try, say, I'll try it out and give it a shot, and I'll give you a review back on it. Yeah. That's the best way to do it. And that's the
best practices then. Let's talk about when you're doing that and you've got a product in your hand and that you're using it, whether especially if it's been given to you, or if you're being paid in some capacity to promote a product, which a lot of people do. And we're not saying there's anything wrong with that, but if you're going to do it, how do you present that? What are the disclaimers that from a communication standpoint that are important to include?
Like if you're being paid for it, you should come out and say, hey, I've been paid for this product to review it and to, tell you about it. I don't think you should, try to hide it and say, hey, you should, you should buy this Toro because it cuts grass faster than any other mower in the United States. No, you should come out and tell that person. And if you're not paid for it, you should also put it in a disclaimer right across the front of the, front of the video. Say, hey, I haven't been paid for this product. I'm reviewing it for you and letting you know how I feel it ran, how it performed in the long run. And that's the way you should do it. I think that's the best way to come across it to any person, out there on, especially if you got tons and tons of viewers. I mean, I don't look for 1 million viewers, and I'm not trying to push out for 1 million viewers. And, even if I did get 1 million viewers, I'm going to tell them the truth, what I feel about every piece of equipment that I'm using, so that's the main way you should do it.
Melanie, I know you can. Oh, sorry. Go on, Mark.
Oh, I just had a thought. I also think that, let's say you are getting paid or you're getting something, I always feel like for me personally, I really like to know the product and like it, because up front, maybe let's just say you're getting that bonus, but 6 months down the road, a year down the road, people are commenting. I feel like for something I'm going to put on my channel, it's something I'm going to have to really like, because I'd like to talk about like the things I have on my channel I thoroughly enjoy, and a year from now I'll want to talk about it. And so If I was paid a year ago, I'm still wanting things that are of my interest and that I think are reputable products. So that's something that we don't always talk about, just like down the road, seeing if you're still talking about it and liking it. So that's kind of another thing that I think about when looking at different products.
And I think that just creates authentic content, which is the type of stuff that most people are going to enjoy, because I feel like the second that they know that you're just doing it because you're an influencer and you're getting paid for it, then it just all of a sudden it just doesn't, then it's like, do you really think that, or are you just doing it for the money? And I think especially it sort of aligns with my background. So my background is in PR, and I'm always trying to explain people the difference between PR and advertising, right? When you do advertising, you pay for an ad. So you say, this is what I want the ad to look like, and this is what I want it to say. But when it comes to PR, you're building relationships with media, and then they're writing a story about you, and then you've got someone actually reading that story, and you're like, oh, okay, well, this person from this magazine said this about the product, so I'm gonna find that much more credible than I'm gonna find an ad about the particular product. So I really see a similarity when it comes to this.
Yeah. Melanie, I'd like you to close off the question that JC posed earlier that we've been talking about. I know you can't speak for all communications managers and PR people within all the brands out there, but what's the likelihood that if you did reach out to somebody, or people in your position reach out to somebody and say, hey, we'd like to collaborate with you on something, and they say, I'm not really interested, does that close the door in the future for them to work with you, or you to work with them?
No, I don't think so. I think if we identify someone that we're interested in working together with, and they say, no, not at the moment, then and I would give that advice to everyone here when you're approaching brands as well. Just because somebody says no, not at the moment, it doesn't necessarily mean no, not forever. It doesn't mean forever. It just means no, not at the moment. Things change, and we certainly realize that, and you definitely don't want to burn your bridges, right? So you want to always just maintain maintain professionalism, and just keep the lines of communication open. And so if we were wanting to approach someone and they said no thank you, then we would certainly be following up with them every couple of months and seeing if perhaps things have changed on their end.
Yeah. All right, so I want to we're about 40 minutes in here, so I want to change a little bit, and I want to start talking about communication and how do you approach commercial contracts, and the vehicles and the mechanisms, and what's important in terms of how you communicate and you present yourself to those HOAs. I know that Tino, I think earlier here in one of the chats, if I can find it, was asking that he's about to pitch an HOA on Monday. So what's some of the advice that we can give in terms of your proposal, your reaching out to them before the proposal is due, follow up, all that sort of stuff. So which one of you wants to tackle that first?
I guess I'll go at it. I would say the best thing, Tino, is to get to kind of see if you can look the property ahead of time, see what's all out there, kind of go and see if you can talk to any of the other homeowners in the area, see if somebody's out, talk to them, see what they're kind of looking at, see what they like from the company they got, what they don't like from the company that they have right now. So that way you kind of know ahead of time. And then also get to know who your people are that you're talking to. I know some HOAs, everybody lives in the HOA. We have one HOA right now that is owned by a company right now, because nobody wants to step up in this subdivision. So the HOA is owned by the main company that owns the whole outside property. I have talked with the homeowners in the area. I talk with the main company. So I'm kind of the voice in the middle. I get to know exactly what's going on and be able to relay it back. But you should also, take a look at everything, be able to talk to them about every, service that you can provide for them, tell them what you can improve on. By looking at the property, you might see skid marks. So you can say, well, over here, it looks like it's a little wet. So I'm going to slow down or use a smaller mower on this area. Look at something that, some other company that's mowing it might just be mowing it. You could say, hey, I'm going to use this piece of equipment to, edge out, use the bed edging. I'm going to bed edge it, mulch it. This other company, it doesn't look like they mow it or, they just mow it. So I'm going to mulch it all up. There's different ways to look at it in the long run. It's kind of hard till you get out on the property and look at it. If you can't get out to the property till, let's say, your appointment's at noon, try to be there at 11 o'clock. Take that hour and spend that time and just walk the whole property if you can, and get to know it. That's the best thing I can tell you from my experience.
Yeah,
So,
what I'm gathering from what you're saying, if I can kind of summarize, there's one common thread, and that's communications, and that is communicating with them. So you covered both getting the business and then maintaining it when you actually have it, but it's about that communication. So would you recommend then that, let's say you have an HOA and you want to keep it, because that's, you get more business from the business you already have than, and it's a lot more cost effective to keep and grow that business than it is to try and get new business. So obviously you want to maintain it. Is it, like the idea of taking a look at what you've done and, whether you see those skid marks on the grass because it's been too wet, you've been going too fast. Do you take the time to write a note and leave it behind for the people that you're working with, or send a recap at the end of the day in terms of what was done that day?
Yes, we do one HOA. Like I said, we go through the property. So if we see something that could be done for some of these houses, we send them a note right to our client via email. And I know a lot of, we do a subdivision, and all we do is do their irrigation and their fertilization for them. But we go through, and when we're through there doing their fertilization, each customer, there's 26 homes in this subdivision, we'll send them a note saying, this is what we did today. We noticed that your irrigation head over here is turning to the left, needs just be readjusted. Please contact us. We'll come out. We'll do it real quick for you. It won't be that much of a charge for you. We noticed that you got weeds growing in your bed. We can go ahead and do that for you for this charge. By letting them know every time you're out there what can be done, it helps out in the long run. We do have some that we meet with the manager or the home association president once a month and go through walk the whole area with them and say, hey, this is what we've seen this week. This is what we've seen this week. This is what we can improve on. And that helps out, and it shows you, and it shows your client that you're there. You want to continue their business with them, and you're looking for ways to help improve the outside look of their whole HOA.
Yeah. Yeah, Jacqueline and Abigail just posted a really good comment, I thought. That, we got one of our commercial accounts because one day we saw one of the managers standing outside looking at the overgrown landscaping. So we stopped and asked if we can give them a proposal, which I think is fantastic, because, again, it talks about that face-to-face. It's about doing the research, which we've already touched on today, understanding what is it that motivates them to buy. what's going to help them make that decision, and showing your face, which I think is an excellent idea. How appropriate, though, is it, again, because our topic today is business etiquette, how appropriate is it to actually stop when an RFP is out, or you know that someone's looking for business, whether they're looking to you for sponsorships or they're looking to you to hire them to manage their property, to actually stop and say, can I ask you a bunch of questions? Is it okay for me to talk to some of your residents, see what their needs are? Is it okay for me to ask what you liked and didn't like about the people that were doing this work before? Is that an appropriate thing to do? Does that make you seem less professional or more professional?
I feel like it makes you more professional. You're going out there and, all my guys are totally dressed. We're dressed in the same clothes. We wear the same shirts. We're kept up. I'm kept up as best as I can. I try to keep my hair up all the time. We keep clean. I think that helps also in the aspect that, when you show up and you're all dressed the same, the client can see that you're there, you're doing, a business job, you're in your business attire. And by asking them, hey, can I do this for you? Can I look at this for you? I feel it makes the client more thoughtful of you and know that you are there in their best interest.
Yeah.
Mark, is there something with you? I mean, you do home buildings and stuff like that. Is that something with you too?
Yeah. Just this has been going through my mind as we were talking. I do some facility and property management for a 45,000 square foot building, and we have a flat roof. It's a black rubber roof called EPDM, and the building's about 25 years old, and we've had 3 people over the years come out and do some patching. The last company that I hired a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I just got an email from them, and I was so impressed with the communication. They had a map of the roof, like an aerial Google map, and they circled in in bright yellow where I think there are like 9 different areas that they covered. And then they had a photo of like number 1 where they did that, and a close-up look of what their patch looked like before and after. And it just was so above and beyond what I was expecting. The other companies in the past have never done that. Just getting that type of communication, I was impressed. So like if we ever go to get like a whole new roof, that would be a company that's definitely going to be like right at the top of the list. Just that extra work it was like an $800 repair, but that really impressed me so much that just the communication impressed me.
But it's also, I think, goes into the presentation. The presentation that you put there. If you've got 2 guys, listen, I'll give you a personal example of mine, just to make the point. It's a completely different industry, but just to give you a sense. I mean, I've published a book on influence marketing. So when I went and I make a presentation to somebody, and somebody else has got good credentials, they got a successful business like I do, and they say, okay, here's my proposal. I say, here's my proposal. But then my proposal comes with, oh, by the way, here's a copy of the book that I wrote on the subject. All of a sudden, there is a more, the presentation is just more, there's like a thud factor, like when something hits the table, kind of, it's a joke we use here internally all the time. So it's that extra mile. If you can see that this person has this one thing, because everybody else is going to be equal, right? If you're influencer, like lots of people that have lots of followers. If you are a lawn care pro, there's lots of people in your community doing exactly the same thing that you do. What is it that is going to make you stand out? And often it's the quality of the presentation that you're putting out there, right? And so the idea of including aerial shots and showing some kind of a topographical analysis and say, look, this is what I've noticed, and this is where I would do things differently than the person before you. Or can I schedule a meeting with you to identify what your problems are so that my proposal can address them specifically? These little things, I think, are a great way for people to separate themselves and improve the way they communicate with their prospects. Let's, in the time that we have here, I want to maybe switch a little bit, and then I'm going to get to some of the other questions that are in the chat. So thanks. Keep those questions coming in, guys. If you have grown up in this industry, and you're a gearhead, you know what I mean? You're the type of, you're a mechanic. We know there's a lot of people that have just come out of the military and have moved into this business. They didn't go to business school. They didn't take writing courses. They don't know necessarily how to present these proposals, or how to write an effective email to a brand, whatever the case may be. Where can they go for help? I mean, I'm going to open this up to anybody who wants to answer this here. What are some of the tools available to these people for the purposes? How do they improve that part of their business? Yeah, Mark.
One of the things that I'll never forget, I was in college and I wrote a paper, and the professor, I was talking to him in the office hours, and he said, he just circled several things that needed work on it. And he said, before you turn a paper in again, read it out loud and hear how it sounds. When you're just writing and you're hearing it in your head, that's something that I do all the time. When I'm struggling with the email, it's not flowing right, I will just read it out loud. I think there's something that has stuck with me all those years, that it's been a very valuable lesson.
You're a big podcast consumer, Mark. I know that you're always listening and reading to podcasts when you're out there in the field, especially. Are there any from a business perspective in this industry that you like more than another? Let's drop a couple of names. Let's give a shout out to people.
Something that helped me grow as an influencer. This is, like, as I was mentioning, I share some time in the maker community, and it's called Made for Profit. They're not doing it anymore, but they have probably like 100 and some episodes. They've done a great job just talking about all the different changes with social media and people that have grown. That was just a relatable podcast, like on the business side of trying to grow things. That's one. First Story Now, I'd listened to a lot of Gary Vee. Just his marketing was just very motivating. The one, just when you're tired and trying to hustle, like hearing his firing you up hustle, that would get me going. So I spent a lot of time on a mower listening to him.
Yeah, Scott. I mean, you've listen. You and I have had a lot of conversations over the years. You don't. I was going to make a joke, and I didn't know how mean it was going to come across. So I think I'm going to hold back on the joke. But how did you get to the point where you're effectively communicating? How did you get the help that you needed to improve your business savvy and your business presentation?
There's been many different ways. I had a mentor a long time ago. When I first started, I had a mentor. The company I used to work for, I told him I wanted to get into the business. He kind of helped mentor me, tell me how to get my business going. Google's helped me a lot. I try to stick away from YouTube. I feel like some of that stuff's overrated sometimes. But there's also all these different resources. There's pro networking. You can talk to people on EMB now. That helps out. There's plenty of Facebook pages that you can groups that you can join, and you can talk to people. And I got a lot of people that contact me left and right, DM me, and it's hard. But when somebody wants to know something, you're willing to be out there and talk to them. There's a lot of technical schools now that are trying to teach these kids right from the get-go how to run a business. And if one of us can be out there and kind of help them too, that helps them out in the long run. And I feel like that will help the next generation of lawn care people, landscapers out there, advance. So, I mean, there's, like I said, there's tons of places you can get all the information you need. But you can go on EMB, you can talk to one of us if you become a pro, or just contact us. Look us up on, Instagram or Facebook. There's a lot of different places. A lot of us are, and I know there's a lot of us that will help for free. They won't charge you to come, talk to them or not, and that's what I enjoy. I mean, I look at it, is that I'd rather talk to somebody that's willing to talk to you on a one-on-one basis than, having their employee call you and say, hey, if I can get $97, I'll have them talk to you. But, that's definitely out of my realm. So, yeah.
Clean Cut just posted, I used a drone on Monday to shoot pics of a healthcare facility that requested a bid. It's differentiating yourself makes a difference. But on that, I want to pivot a little bit because we got a really good question here about Landscapes of America, who said, maybe I'm lost here because I just came in. When bidding on commercial accounts, it always boils down to pricing, your portfolio, and sometimes why you. Nobody cares you interviewing the tenants. So I'd like to get, some feedback on that from anybody. You guys, I'm sure there's a conversations going on in the chat anyway, but for those of you here, so Mark, well, actually either one of you or Scott, when you're going for these businesses, the idea of that personal connection, which Mark, you said has gotten you a lot of business. Scott, you said the same thing, is having that engagement. It's not just about the paper. Do you agree with him?
Can I just have just a short little thing I want to say? So in the property management that I do, we hire a snowplow company, and they've raised their prices over the years. But if we have a snowstorm coming and it's late, I can send an email, and I know that that's the gal that manages the email, that I'll hear from her. I understand, like, I can't have them there like right at 7 a.m. when I want, because I know they're, if we're getting hit with heavy snow, but at least we can communicate that way. And I know they're going to have it ready. They know when it needs to be ready at what time, and they've always come through. So once I think they get their foot in the door and they raise their price, I think we can. We're almost nervous to change who's doing it because they have established themselves so well. So I don't know with commercial landscape, once you get your foot in the door, if that you're doing a great job and everybody's happy, if you're able to then, Scott, how that works for you.
I think being able to get there face to face, talk to all the certain places it's hard to talk to the clients, but if you're talking HOAs, you can talk to all the tenants. That's a lot easier that way. If you're doing like an apartment complex, it's more they're going to look at your price. They're going to look at your portfolio. And I think, if you got great pictures, this day and age, you can take video and put videos up there, and people are going to see those videos and see that cut quality, how you perform that job. And, that's more, I think, one-on-one too, if you can't get in there. Price does always, they're all these places always try to beat you up on pricing, especially when it comes to commercial accounts, but they also look at, in the long run, how long you've been in business, how good of a job you're doing, your quality. A lot of companies now are looking at your experience. If you got, like, I've been in business 25 years, anybody in our area that's got 10 or plus years, you got a better, pricing that you can say, hey, I'm higher in price, but look at how long of experience we got compared to somebody else. And it's not, you don't go around bashing, the other guy. Like Don said, I don't bash anybody else on what they do. I just show my quality and how we perform our work and what comes out at the end. And that's the main thing that, gets you out in front of the clients too.
Yeah, it's about those personal connections, because what I think people will find, if you haven't already experienced this, is that, what's the saying, shit happens. And when it does, your price being slightly cheaper, or or having a nicer business card isn't what's going to keep that business.
Right.
Bad stuff happens to everybody. We can't help it. Weather, personal issues, things happen. When you've got a good relationship with somebody, because you've done that extra mile, whether it's interviewing somebody or whether it's taking that extra time to explain why what you did in a particular day is different than a previous day, or getting to know the tenants in the HOA, that relationship and that extra mile is what's going to set you apart and allow them to keep working with you even when you screw up. You know what I mean? Whether it was done on purpose or otherwise is irrelevant. That is what's going to hold you longer. So that is good advice. I agree. Melanie, one of the things that I personally struggle with when it comes to business presentations is grammar, spelling. I'm dyslexic. So while, you know what I mean, I've been a professor, I've written a book, I know how to write, I have an education, yet because of my dyslexia, I have a tough time typing and I can never proof my own work. So I know that that's hurt me in the past and quite frankly still does a lot of times today. So what I use various tools, just for those of you that might be in the same situation, either because you're not a good speller or you have issues like I do, is I use tools, the online tools that help, that, that will grammar check what I do, will spell check what I do, and I make sure I put it through that before I send it to somebody. How important are those little things when you see proposals or when you have that business communication with other brands or with media? How influenced are you or they when they see things like spelling mistakes and poor grammar and formatting in a business letter?
Well, I think you're right. There are so many different tools that allow you to check all of that, if I were to get an email or a proposal that was littered and, either grammatical errors or spelling errors, that I think, that just shows that you didn't take the time to necessarily, to proof your work and to send it over. And that, that could potentially diminish your credibility.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to just post this here in the group, in the chat. There's something that I found works really well. It's called Grammarly.
Yeah, I was just going to suggest that.
Mhm.
Yep, Grammarly is great.
Yeah, I mean, there's a paid account which actually gives you a lot more. But even if you're just looking for some basic spell check, Grammarly gives you a lot of recommendations on tone as well. And it looks at run-on sentences and, dangling participles, all the things that we learned in school and forget what they actually mean. It'll actually call it out. And what I find is it actually helps you train you. And it's free. The free version is actually pretty good. Another tip that I got from somebody actually 2 years ago, the last time that the last GIE, we were talking in an interview in the social media lounge, and somebody said that they hire college students that are in marketing programs because they're always looking for internships. And then they hire them for like that 1 month that they have to be part of this internship, and they have them redo all of their communications. Right. So because they're marketing students or English students, they'll actually rewrite contracts. They'll rewrite collateral pieces. They'll find better ways to present certain information. So if you're not good at it yourself, that's cool. There's lots of cost-effective and innovative ways to do that. So that's another great tip for those of you looking. Mike Bedell, I love Grammarly. Yeah, you're going to spell it right. If you maybe put your comment through Grammarly first. Oh, you're awesome.
I actually have a few more tips that's not exactly related to grammar, but I did want to say these two random things. The first one is that probably everyone on here is used to working with your clients are in the same time zone as you. And that's something that you should always remember when you are contacting a brand, is to make sure that you know what time zone they're in, because then when you go and you set a meeting with them, if that time zone isn't specified, then most likely, someone's on Eastern time, someone's on Central time, then the call probably doesn't happen. And the other thing that sort of goes along with that is calendar invites. So I know that at Echo, for example, we live by our calendar, right? If something is not in our calendar, then we don't know about it and it's not happening. And if someone is contacting us because they want to have a conversation with us about how we can work together, then hands down, the best thing to do is to, of course, confirm when you're available, confirm the time zone, and then for them to send us a calendar reminder, and then it shows the details in there, who's calling who and at what time and things like that. And I know that it sounds super basic, but it's actually something that that's really important and that gets missed a lot.
Yeah, really. Agreed. That's a good point. There are some really good comments and some fun stuff in the comments. I'm really enjoying. We're running on an hour, and I think that we've covered the majority of what we wanted to do here. So I might start looking to wrap it up. If you have one final overarching comment, guys, in terms of what we've been talking about tonight, what would that be for you? What's that one piece of advice that you want to leave everybody? I'll start with you, Scott.
I would say be true to yourself, do what you love, do what you like, and, keep on with what you're doing, keep grinding, and keep, enjoying what you do.
Yeah. Mark?
Yeah, that's well said. I agree with all that. I kept thinking to the comment Don made of like bashing people in the home business. We've hired a lot of subcontractors, and when you start hearing somebody, maybe like a drywaller, somebody just bad mouthing everything, if it gets too excessive, sometimes it just kind of shows like a character that you're like, I don't know if I want to work with this person. I was thinking sometimes I've been in between customers too, like one neighbor to the next, and they're talking about that neighbor, and they're kind of asking, oh, well, what are they, they don't like their neighbor, and then you're in the middle. So I just loose lips sink ships sometimes. So I've learned to just not say that much, but yeah, just enjoy what you do. That's what I can say. I love getting comments. I don't have a lot of the items. I like doing the research on like different things that are like on my channel, for instance, and I like when people ask me questions. So it's something that I really enjoy doing. So
yeah, responding. Sometimes
Yeah.
it can be just as simple as responding to every comment and acknowledging that people. I know when we look for engagers, like for people that are applying for the user advisory group, which people are doing right now, we're looking for the 2022 group. One of the things we look at is not just who has a large following, as an example, but who's engaging. Like, do you take the time to actually respond to people? And are you just responding with a joke or just a like, or are you actually trying to teach something? Do you take the time to try and educate the audience? Right? That's something that we look for. And that shows a certain level of professionalism and authenticity at two of the things that we've been talking about here tonight. So I know that's one of the things that, I look at that I think everybody should be paying attention to. Melanie, before I ask you for your final thoughts, there is one thought that came to me in what Mark just said, and that is we've become so accustomed to social media communications. And there is a generally accepted lowering of standards when it comes to commenting in social media. And there's a lot of debate going on right now about what that's doing to the way we communicate. As a communications professional yourself, do you think that businesses are taking too much of a lead and getting a little complacent in terms of how they're communicating on social media, using the abbreviations, not capitalizing? The grammar doesn't necessarily have to be as easy. We tend to forgive spelling mistakes in text and stuff like that because we all know we're typing with fat fingers on those little keyboards. But when you're actually doing a business presentation, what's the impact do you feel of this social media engagement and what that's doing to how we communicate elsewhere?
Well, firstly, I think it's very important, social media, for example, whenever we're posting something, that there's absolutely no errors anywhere. I take that very seriously. I take that to heart. If I post something and then all of a sudden I see, oh my God, there was a mistake in there, my heart sinks. So that's really important.
Yeah, I can attest to that. She's yelled at me many times for a typo. So she means it when she says that.
And I apologize. What was the second part of your question?
No, the question.
I think your fancy words confused me.
No, I guess well, maybe that's the tip of the day. Don't use fancy words. You confuse people. No, I guess what I was trying to get from you was how do you feel that social media communications and the lowering of those standards is affecting how we now present ourselves in a business setting?
Oh, no. I mean, when I'm, when we're writing emails, we're still very professional. We're not using acronyms and things like that. We do, if we're chatting with each other, we have, we use Teams at Echo. And so we're chatting with each other, and there it's like, I'm not even looking what I'm typing, and you probably can't even understand what I just wrote because there's so many, errors in there because you're just kind of like typing. But when it comes to an actual email, that's still like, there's no acronyms, it's still very, buttoned up, professional.
Cool. So what's your final thought that you want to leave with everybody listening today based on today's topic?
I think it's just don't forget that that when you're approaching a company, that you should always keep it professional, and you catch more bees with honey. And so if this time around, potentially, we're not going to work together, it doesn't mean that's not going to happen in the future, and don't burn your bridges.
All right. That's cool.
Can I say one more thing? I had this written down. I just had a few notes. I didn't say it, and now I felt like I should. Always, for me, maybe this might help other people, just sometimes before making errors or presenting something, look at it with a fresh set of eyes. I'm often up to very late in the night editing, and then I'll, instead of publishing at that point or having it be done, I'll look at it again the next morning, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that I was going to send it like that. So fresh set of eyes, I think, for me, is the key to getting everything that put out there that you want it your best version of yourself by fresh eyes.
Yeah. What you put out there on social media or pen to paper in an email or a letter is a reflection of who you are. It's a reflection of the way you do business. And so you're going to want to make sure that, you're checking yourself, but that, you also have somebody else giving you that honest critique and checking you as well. All great points. Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate your time. I got to thank, obviously, our panelists, personally, Scott Horoszewski, Landscapes by Acme, Mark Thomas, otherwise known as Mark Thomas Builder, and Melanie Pikosky, Communications Manager at Echo Inc. Really appreciate all your insights tonight. Wherever you're listening to this, if you were live and chatting with us, we really appreciate the love, the comments. Sorry if we didn't get to one of your questions here today. You know where to find the UAG members over at Echo Means Business. You can always be asking these questions, drop it into the forum, download the mobile app. If you're listening to this on our podcast or watching it on our site or on the mobile app, I'm going to suggest that you look at all of the other content that is being developed by these great panels that we have every Thursday. They're often moderated by one of our UAG members, and they're either pros like you or interviews with industry vendors, manufacturers, and other pros. That we do this live every Thursday. But if you go to Pro Networking section of the Echo Means Business site, you can see past videos if you're a member, which can be free. So check that out today, and you can see upcoming events. Really appreciate all of you. If you're watching this on our YouTube channel, don't forget, what does every influencer say? Give that like button a smash. Give us a like and subscribe to us. I still can't say that with a straight face. I'm sorry, guys, but you know what to do. Anyway, everybody, thanks very much. Really appreciate you all joining in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.